Good afternoon and welcome everyone. It's great to have you for our first Cyber Conversations, a LinkedIn Live episodic series that is presented by SIA and PSA, where we're going to interview and just talk with some of our cybersecurity experts who participate on our advisory boards. And today I'm joined with EVP of Technology, Josh Cummings, one of our SICC instructors, and a committed member of both SIA and PSA cybersecurity advisory boards. Hi, Josh.
Hi, Ellie. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
So with school starting, I think it's a great time of year to talk about education. Feeling very
Mm.
collegiate today in my sweater, actually. But I, I thought this would be a good time to talk about why cybersecurity and InfoSec education and training is important to physical security professionals. So can you tell us a little bit about, how cybersecurity convergence is shaping our current skill set, our current demand for skills and what the future skill set may look like for the workforce?
Yeah. No, I think it's a great topic. And I think, we're all security minded folks, right? We come from a security industry and background, and cyber is a part of that. It's understanding the threat vector, right? It's understanding the vulnerabilities of our systems. We think about it from a physical standpoint. Can somebody break through a door? Can they come into our space? But it's the same thing with cyber. It's just a different aspect to what we're doing. And we talk about layers of defense. There's physical, there's logical, there's cyber, there's all these different pieces, but they all have to come together, right? And you have to be able to think about each of those and be concerned with them as you're looking at protecting your facility, your customer. And our end users need this, and they're experiencing it. They have requirements to deal with the cyber security of their physical security systems, and so we've got to step up and be ready to help support them through that.
Where do you think we are today in terms of, where we are in terms of cybersecurity skills and acumen, and where we need to be?
Well, I would never say that we've arrived. Like, we still have a lot of work to do. And I think our manufacturer partners have jumped out ahead and done a lot of work, which has been really great. They've invested a lot of time, energy, and money in their products and the cybersecurity hygiene of those products. But all of those products have to be deployed in a manner that's secure. And that's really, from an integrator standpoint, that's where we have to also step up our game and do all of the things that we need to configure these devices securely, so that we turn off things that we're not using. We're updating the firmware that needs to be updated regularly. We have a good policy around how we're handling passwords. All of these things are really important. And I think we've talked about it a lot. I think a lot of folks have implemented different pieces of it, but we have a long ways to go. I would not say that as an industry, we can say that we're all doing this and we can check the box yet.
So speaking of integrators, what roles within, systems integrator companies do you think need cybersecurity education the most? Is it those techs and installers? Is it up the chain? Which roles would you target first as an integrator?
Well, I think there's a certain level of awareness that everybody has to have. And if you think of your own internal IT systems, right, everybody's got kind of an awareness program going on around passwords and phishing emails and those kinds of things. There needs to be the same thing inside of an integrator. Like, everybody from sales, project management, service, operations, engineering, they all need to be aware. But it's critically important that the folks that are actually deploying these systems and servicing the systems are educated on how to do that and how to implement best practices when it comes to cybersecurity. So our technicians in the field, our programming resources, our service team members that are out there, our project managers need to understand it, make sure that it's being done on the projects that we're deploying. Our sales team needs to be out in front talking to our end users about how we can help them with these needs that they have, and make sure that we're compliant.
So what do you think is then the biggest challenge for upskilling technicians and installers and the other operational roles on not only like the basic cybersecurity hygiene, but those, say, client facing roles, on IT principles and networking principles that could help them become a trusted advisor. I hear a lot that business is booming. We're not experiencing the same supply chain issues that we had just a few years ago. And so people are out in the field. How do you make time to prioritize training and education when, you need your people out there fulfilling business orders?
Yeah. Well, it's something that I think each integrator they've got a plan, they got a budget, they got to set aside the time. They all have commitments, for projects they have to deliver, service that they need to maintain, but they also have a commitment to their employees to invest in them and to educate them. And they have a commitment to their end users to provide, certain skill sets and technical aptitude when they're deploying these systems. So you got to be proactive. You got to make time for it. There is cost. There's both the time and energy, and then there's also the cost of either you're sending somebody somewhere or you're enrolling them in a course. But if you're not doing those things, then you're probably moving backwards. And so it's just recognizing that this is something that we have to do. We do it for manufacturer certifications. We do it for electronics, certifications. We do it for our own internal IT, types of systems that we have to get up to speed on. We need to do it for cybersecurity as well.
With some of those certifications that you mentioned for manufacturers, those are requirements. Is that right?
Yeah. So, if I'm responding to a bid, I may have to be able to prove that I have a certain number of folks certified in specific products. And so we've got to have those certificates on hand and be able to show evidence of that. And I think that is a bit of a gap that we have right now. Like, we don't see that demand to show cybersecurity competency when we're, interviewing for an opportunity that maybe we're pursuing. And as an industry, maybe we need to do more of that. We need to kind of drive that demand that somebody proves that they have education in the area of cybersecurity.
Yeah, that is a challenge when it's not a requirement or a mandate, but it's what needs to be done to, mitigate risk associated with IoT and industrial IoT devices. You mentioned compliance. Are there other potential risks that could occur as a result of, not training or neglecting to train on cybersecurity?
Well, there's always a risk, right? When it comes to cybersecurity, because we have vulnerabilities. Every product has a vulnerability. You have to be able to address that. And our end users, depending on what industry they're in, they have compliance that they have to be able to meet. And there's certain requirements that they're being held to be able to meet that compliance. And so integrators need to understand those requirements and those compliance, and we have to help assist to be able to meet them.
So where would be a good place to start then? There are programs out there and available. You're an instructor for the security industry cybersecurity certification, or the SICC, that was developed by SIA and PSA with support from security specifiers a few years ago. But there's also other education through CompTIA and other reputable providers. Where would you recommend someone start if they're looking to explore technical education for their staff?
Yep. So I think there's a couple different ways you can do it. I love the SICC from the aspect of it's focused on our industry, right? You mentioned CompTIA, ISC Squared, other groups like that are out there have great cybersecurity content. It's not focused on physical security and what we do. So while it provides a lot of value, it doesn't necessarily relate, and you have to draw those correlations. The SICC, as we go through that class and we were reviewing that, we're talking about cameras, we're talking about access control panels, we're talking about credentials. It is, it's topics that we're dealing with every day and the technologies that we're working with every day. So I do think it's a great option. It's something to take a look at. I think there are options as well from our manufacturer partners that are specifically focused on securing their products. Those are things we should be looking at as well. And then engaging with, PSA and SIA on different topics around cybersecurity. There are lots of webinars that are going on. There's lots of content that's being produced to help educate, right? So maybe you're not ready for the SICC yet. well, then start to engage, in some of the lower level content that's available and get yourself familiar so you can get ready to take that.
Well, I think it's a good time to start thinking about those things as we head into Q4 already and start, looking at our budgets, looking at our 2025 strategic priorities, figuring out how to make the time and set aside the resources to make these investments in tomorrow's workforce. So, Josh, thank you so much for joining this conversation, for sharing your insights. We're gonna periodically do more of these, focus on different cybersecurity topics, go a little bit deeper into some issues. If there's anything that the folks out there watching today would love to hear about, leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you, and appreciate you being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.
Thanks.